So last Thursday, two members of our City of Bloomington team were seriously injured in an accident. Daryl Bittman and Tyler Leonard are both equipment operators on the street crew in our maintenance division of the Public Works Department. Their injuries were serious, and last night we learned that Tyler Leonard died as a result of the injury sustained during that accident. We have been focused today on providing support to Tyler's family and to Daryl's family. Daryl is still hospitalized as a result of his injuries. Our staff is also, frankly, in need of a lot of support. This morning, we had grief counselors available from our employee assistance program. First thing this morning, upon the arrival at work for our streets crew, we also met with the entire Public Works Department. The grief counselors were assisted by chaplains who work with our police department to provide assistance to employees who felt they needed to avail themselves of those resources. We also communicated to our entire staff at the City of Bloomington what happened with Daryl and with Tyler and what resources are available to them. The City of Bloomington is a very tight-knit organization. The people who serve this community do so with a great amount of pride in the work that they do, and they do it, frankly, with a lot of passion for this community. Daryl and Tyler were two very important pieces of this organization. Daryl's been with the Public Works Department for almost 29 years. Tyler has been with us for 15 years. They are very highly regarded members of our Public Works Department, and frankly, they're much loved over there. This is a very difficult time for us, and so our primary responsibility right now is to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our organization so that our staff can deal with this difficult situation. In addition to what we're doing to focus on our employees and focus on supporting Daryl and Tyler's families, we also have an investigation that's ongoing, and so at this point I'm going to turn it over to Chief Potts, who will provide an update on the investigation related to the accident, and when he's done with those details, we'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thanks. My name's Jeff Potts, the police chief. I've got some cards over there if you want to take those, but the spelling on the last name is P-O-T-T-S. I'm going to recap a little bit of what the manager has already talked about, but it'll give you a little bit of a background on where we're at as far as the crash investigation. At 10:22 a.m. last Thursday, January 28th, the Bloomington police responded to a personal injury crash in the 400 block of East American Boulevard. This is just west of Portland Avenue in the city of Bloomington. Initial information on the crash indicated that there were two vehicles involved. Initial information also indicated a mid-size SUV occupied by the driver only rear-ended a city vehicle that was stationary in the eastbound lane of American Boulevard. The city vehicle was there assisting with snow removal operations. As a result of the crash, the occupants of the city vehicle and the driver of the SUV were transported to the Hennepin County Medical Center for treatment for their injuries. As was previously mentioned by the city manager, Tyler Leonard, a 38-year-old city employee, has died as a result of his injuries sustained during the crash. The other city employee, Daryl Bittman, remains hospitalized, as does the driver of the SUV. A police investigation, including a full reconstruction of the crash, is currently underway. The investigation is being conducted by the Bloomington Police Department along with assistance from the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office. We're also working very closely with the Hennepin County Attorney's Office as this investigation progresses. This is an active and ongoing investigation. At this time, we do believe excessive speed and alcohol on the part of the driver of the SUV are factors contributing to this crash. We'll take a few questions at this point.
How fast do you think she was going? Any estimates at this point?
We don't have estimates at this point. That's part of the investigation, and more information on that will come out as the investigation progresses.
Right. We had witnesses that said that she was just cruising down the right-hand lane and maybe at the last second tried to veer out of the way. Do you know what it shows?
We do have, the reason I said speed, excessive speed is a contributing factor is we too have spoken to witnesses that told us that they saw her vehicle driving much faster than the other cars on the street at that time. Also indicated that she drove through the intersection of Nicollet and American Boulevard against the red light at a high rate of speed. That's why we're saying excessive speed.
Chief, could you describe the vehicle that they were in?
The city vehicle?
Yes, sir.
That is a 1-ton truck. It has a box on the rear end of it, kind of a utility box. It has a large arrow, lighting arrow on the top of the back of it. It was there to provide some protection for the people doing snow removal. So it's a large 1-ton truck that's has a big arrow on the back and was in the lane of traffic next to where the snow removal operations were going on.
And where were the two city employees? Were they inside? One in the driver's seat, one in the passenger seat at the time?
Yes.
Who was driving and who was in the passenger seat?
Daryl Bittman was in the driver's seat and Tyler was in the passenger seat.
The reason I asked about the size of the type of truck, the presumption would be that's a big vehicle, and it speaks to perhaps the speed of the driver in the other vehicle to cause that degree of injury?
We're going to let the investigation play itself out before we start talking about what the speed of the vehicle was, but it's a 1-ton truck and a mid-size SUV.
Is the name of the woman, Chief, who was driving the other vehicles, is that public yet?
No, it's not. We can tell you it's a 24-year-old female that was the driver of the SUV.
At that speed and running a red light, was she running from somebody? Was somebody chasing her? Do you know what the motive was here for her to behave like that?
This is an active, ongoing investigation, so I'm not at liberty to discuss those points of the investigation yet. We're still working on it.
Were they were stopped at the time? What was their job that day? What were they?
So they were doing snow removal operations. This vehicle was there and stationary at the time of the crash. They were there with a LED light board that directs traffic to move over to the next lane. This vehicle is providing protection for the people that are doing snow removal on or near the sidewalk next to the roadway, so that if snow is pushed out onto the road, it doesn't, there's a vehicle there to kind of indicate or notify the drivers of that and indicate and instruct them to move over to the next lane.
So they were kind of there as a buffer to
Yes.
just, exactly what happened, but hopefully it's not that speed, right? But that's what they were there for, to provide protection for other
That is correct.
motorists or the workers?
Well, particularly motorists on American Boulevard.
Could you go so far as to say, Chief, that the high rate of speed, were the other two lucky to survive?
Well, one of them did not survive. The driver of the SUV.
The driver of the SUV and Daryl.
Well, there was significant damage to both vehicles in this crash, yes. The SUV is, my guess, is completely total, and there's significant damage to the city vehicle as well. So, but the other two do have serious injuries, and those both are currently being treated, continue to be treated for those serious injuries. So,
Is distracted driving at play here too?
part of the investigation, we're not sure yet.
Because obviously, if you're going fast, that's one thing, but you should have seen that truck there.
It should have been very obvious with the road conditions and the road design at that point. It's all part of the investigation at this point.
Was the truck pushed
Yes.
as a result? Could you say how far?
The truck was pushed a considerable distance, and just an estimate from my observations at the scene, but in the neighborhood of 30 to 40 feet.
Do you happen to know what that truck weighs?
I do not.
Was there a plow on the front of the truck?
There was no plow on the truck.
When's the last time you had a city employee die at work?
To the best of our knowledge, the City of Bloomington's had one other line of duty death was a firefighter back in about 1980 who died of a cardiac episode following a call.
So this is rare.
It is rare. I think that we all understand that our public safety employees, our police officers and our community service officers and our firefighters typically are exposed to hazards and danger in the course of their duties. I think people fail to understand that other employees that we have in the field, our public works employees, our inspectors, our environmental health specialists, and others typically encounter hazardous situations as well. And we have public works employees working in the public right-of-way every day, and distracted driving and inattentiveness, lack of consideration by drivers, all of them are hazards for our employees.
Does anything need to change with how you work on the streets, since you do have city workers out there all the time?
One of the things that I know about the Bloomington Public Works Department is they have a culture of safety. And so our staff spends a lot of time talking about safety and making sure that their environment is safe around them. I think that you've also seen some legislative changes with the Ted Foss Move Over law that put more responsibility on drivers to be aware of their surroundings and to be sensitive to public employees.
Does this, though, bring about another review of that? To see if there's anything you can do better or differently?
We always do after-action reviews whenever we have any type of incident. The city also has a firm that we employ for safety training and safety purposes to make sure that we're up to par on all the safety standards.
Can you give us any more information about Tyler, family?
So the family itself has requested privacy. We have employees who are acting as go-betweens for us to make sure that we know what their wishes are.
Do you have a father or husband?
So if you can touch base with a member of the family, I'd prefer that the family answer those kind of personal questions. I know that the family was grateful for the steady stream of visitors that were down there this weekend. Like I said before, both Daryl and Tyler are very much part of the fabric of that organization, and our folks were over there on a regular basis this weekend, and the family very much appreciated that support. We're looking at additional ways that we're going to be able to support them, whether it's through funding or fundraisers and memorials, things of that nature. I think the story that we heard most frequently about Tyler was how much pride he took in his job. He loved working for the city of Bloomington, but even more so how much pride he took in his equipment. We assigned him one of our new trucks last year, and his family shared how he was constantly giving them updates on how he was tinkering with and making modifications to his new truck to get it just to the place that he wanted it to be. And just listening to our streets crew this morning as they were reminiscing, that that was pretty indicative of what he was like every day in the workplace. Took a lot of pride in his work.
How have, he's been here long enough to have a lot of friends at work, co-workers. Can you talk about that just a bit, how people are dealing with this? Bad enough to have the accident, but then to get the news that he passed away.
Sure. As I said, Tyler's been with us for 15 years, and Daryl's been with us for 29 years. We spend about a third of our life with the people we work with, and so it's really hard not to develop close working relationships with those people. And so the sudden absence of Daryl and Tyler from the workplace is in and of itself difficult, and to learn of Tyler's passing was even more difficult. I think that there's such a tight-knit group over there. They're taking a lot of solace in their own camaraderie, and there was a lot of storytelling this morning, a lot of laughing along with some of the tears as they were talking about how Tyler approached his work and the way that he behaved in the workplace. And I know that our staff was grateful for the opportunity to meet with grief counselors and have that resource available to them as well.
Chief, you talked about the report about the run stop light and the speed witnesses, but the alcohol component, was there other evidence that you could discuss that leads you to that conclusion that there was alcohol involved?
There was evidence at the scene. That is, there was evidence in the vehicle of alcohol being involved. There was a bottle inside the vehicle. And that's primarily why we say at this point that alcohol is a factor. There's some statements that we're still working on and additional statements that we will take that have kind of preliminarily indicated that alcohol is a factor.
I know officers are trained to make up observations and smells and things like that. Were those, did they also support that conclusion?
Yes. There was alcoholic containers in the vehicle, but there was also odors of an alcoholic beverage from the inside of the vehicle as well.
Would you expect Gildoy release her identity?
We're not sure yet. It kind of depends on how quickly or how slowly the investigation progresses. Certainly if and when any charges are filed, there would be a point in time when that name can be released, but I really don't even want to speculate here today when that would be.
Would you have enough, Chief, to take her into custody when she's physically better?
We're not going to comment on that aspect of the investigation at this point. The investigation is progressing this week, and we're going to let the investigation play out before we comment on to whether or not she's going to be taken into custody or not. But so we're going to let that play out in the investigation.
Were the crews back on the field today working?
We did have crews out working today across the whole division. But I'll be honest with you that I think most of our employees are distracted. And so our staff has been really good about trying to find some meaningful work out there that frankly doesn't require a lot of moving parts or dangerous work. Because being conscious of safety means that we're conscious of the working state for our employees too. So yeah, they're out working.
Okay, Chief, did any of your officers kind of provide, like they had some time, just be in their presence, just to give them a little reassurance? You know, you kind of got their eyes on them too.
Today, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know, our officers are always, you know, in their work as patrol officers. I think that other city employees will see them, and I'm sure they'll stop by and probably now more than before, give them some encouraging comments and let them know that you know that we're thinking about them. The entire city, I think, has our Public Works Department, the family of Tyler, and their thoughts and prayers these days. And I think, as was mentioned already by the city manager, that you know we're all kind of in this well work together here, and you know we're doing what we can to help support our fellow employees here at the city. Through, you know, Public Works is no exception to that. So.
Tyler, lifelong Bloomington resident. You were born and raised here, or?
You know, as the employer, employee data, a lot of it is private, so that's not something that I can disclose.
Is sorry to ask this, but is it possible to see the vehicle, the truck?
We're still, because it's an active investigation, not at this point. It's still being, as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, it's a full reconstruction of the accident, and so the vehicle is still in our custody, or we're in our storage area, and we're going to leave it that way until we're completed with the reconstruction. At that point, I'm not sure if it's going to be available for folks to see or not, but not right now.
There's a considerable amount of snow coming tomorrow. You guys will be right back doing the same thing again.
They will. They will. You know, one of the things that is reassuring for me, it's reassuring for our city council, it's reassuring for leadership in Public Works, is we have an incredibly professional staff. And I'm confident that they're going to be out there doing the fine job that they do every day.